Yes, you are.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so yes, welcome everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining. So we started our journey with the RAP maybe in the last session, and we were mainly working, or I can say, dealing with the basic skeleton of RAP application. Okay, so what we started with was that okay, if I do have a database tables and everything, I would like to expose them. So okay, let me just do this. Okay, so we started our journey by learning the skeleton of RAP, the building blocks of RAP, I can say. We understood that, okay, when I start with the CDS RAP application development, we have to first start with the data modeling. So that's what we started with. We have a data modeling that is something we developed. We were mainly focusing on the read-only application. What we understood is that when I do have a when I do have a database tables, directly it's not at all suggested to use those tables directly as a data source for any of the rep layers. Okay. So for example, when I say rep layers, you can think it as of different rep specific views. So we understood a VDM view concept, which says there can be interface views, there can be R views, there can be consumption, or I can say projection view as well. So this rep specific views mainly consist of a R views or and the C views. Okay. So when we say R views, then those views are something that we'll only be using directly as a part of one dedicated rep application. So it should have the data source which are some sort of a reusable VDM views, some sort of a interface views. That's where what we did is this database table we encapsulated within a I view interface view, and we consumed it in the R view rep specific view. Post which we projected that as a part of a data model projection called a consumption view. We created a service definition, service binding, and we were able to preview the application. Okay, so if I just go into the development that we have done so far, we see we started with the a view creation on top of the table. Okay, the moment we do that, we are able to get the data, but we understood that we were not following a right VDM convention. That's what we did. That's where we switched to a right VDM convention. We let's just say created a view called some sort of a namespace underscore I and the relevant description. So for example, travel in this particular case. Okay. Now, as we did that, what we understood is we got an interface view. Same way, we also got the I view created for booking. We started consuming that into the R view over here. So travel view will have the select from the interface view of a travel. Booking will have the consumption from the booking interface view. These two views should be related to each other because of the internal business object relevant relation they are carrying. For example, travel is the root of my business object. So that's the reason we are defining it as a defined root view entity. Whereas when we think of, let's just say booking, it is either a parent or a child at some layer onto my business object. That's the reason we are always going with a defined view entity. And we can have maximum one root in a RAP application. So when we define a root, we can also define some sort of a child or the composition it could have. That's where we define a composition for the booking, which says that one particular travel can have n number of bookings associated with that. That's what it ideally tries to specify. Same way, this booking will have a parent. So that's the reason we specify association to parent over here. Once we did that, now in order for my application's consumption, we have to define so-called projection view. So as a part of this, we define a projection view for my travel over here. And we were able to use as projection on with the transactional query capability. And here, the booking view that we had as a composition, we should be specifying the right set of a redirection. So what we did is we specified redirected to composition child, and this particular composition child will be redirected to the right destination. So here we see that, okay, this particular composition child, which used to be booking, is now also getting redirected to my travel, because it's a redirection to the parent. Okay, and then we define a service definition, publish it in the form of a service binding. After publishing, we were able to see the data that we had is now being flowing. We are able to see those data flowing without any issues onto my UI layer right now. But yeah, the thing is, the columns and everything that I just defined are something I selected via the personalization. Now we'll understand one more layer of it, enriching it with the metadata extension. That's what we are planning to go with right now. Okay, so I hope we all are clear till the time, for the concept that we have covered so far. Anyone having any doubt?
Yes, clear, Sumit. For me, one more question. So same thing we can achieve by using the Fiori elements, right? To distribute.
Fiori. Okay, so same thing you can achieve by using a Fiori element, but Fiori element is a UI technology, isn't it?
Yes.
Which part you are saying you can replace it with Fiori? The preview part, the last one, correct?
Mm.
So this preview part over here is just given as a kind of a normal a tool, so that you can visualize how the application will be looking like, how the call will be communicating to each other the moment we try performing some operation. But the idea is this is not the end user product. The reps component that we defined are nothing but this I view, R view, C view, and the service definition and binding only till this. The outcome of this will be nothing but this service endpoint. That's something that we are going to consume when we create a real Fiori application. There is an add-on. This is given to help out the developer visualize this. So definitely this part will be replaced by Fiori. That will build our actual end user product.
Okay, let's take one. See, okay, there is a custom table. Let's take a real scenario. There is a custom table. User want to, in general, in SAP, we will go table maintenance generator. Okay. Instead of that, we can go with these Fiori elements, or maybe we can go with this, whatever you have showed. We can go with either any one approach. Can we take instead of
Yeah.
TMG?
Instead of TMG, yeah, you can. Just the only idea is table maintenance generator is more onto your SAP GUI. In case you are saying that you want to maintain the data, you can choose any of the standard Fiori templates available by creating a service definition binding. Plus, you would need on top of it the behavioral aspect to it. So you have to bind it with the manage wrap scenario. That's something we are going to discuss later. So that's the one that you would definitely need, and then it can replace your TMG in different ways.
But is the one, as per my understanding, so the best option is going with the wrap. Is the
So for the TMG, definitely if you are going with a, let's just say, ABAP on cloud, definitely everything is going to be converted into an application. But when you are thinking of a S4HANA on-premise system, which is also supporting REP, still the table maintenance generator thing will continue to be those SM30 views which you will be using for maintenance, because there will have, if I would like to let's just say connect a SPR or node with a view, definitely it makes sense for me to have those maintenance view rather than going with a full RAP based application, because all I need to do is create a table maintenance generator, and that's all. I'm done. I am not supposed to write any single line of code in any form. Here you have to go with a list of you. So if you want any additional capability and additional flavor to it, definitely RAP is quite versatile in that direction.
okay.
So it totally depends on the use case. But yeah, both can be an option at one point in time.
Okay, yeah, clear. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, so now what we did is, what we just understood over here is the moment we say preview, we are able to view a some sort of an application being presented, which was serving us a set of a data. Now, when we say over here in this particular skeleton that I would like to, let's just say, use my service binding in order for my application's preview, it should present me some sort of a UI behavior by default. Currently, as a user, I selected a set of column and I was able to view the application's information, application data, and only on to the table layer. Max to max, I can also select the filters and I can get the filters working. On to the next layer, I won't have anything if I would like to view the information onto design. I can only view the data for the entity which I have previewed. Okay, for example, in this case, it's a travel entity. But the moment I refresh, all will be gone. So for example, you would have seen I selected column, I close that particular tab. The next time I'm previewing, I don't have anything by default available. So in order for my user to have the luxury of, let's just say, having a default view rather than him selecting that all the time, we have to give some UI behavior to it, UI design to it. Okay. And that's something which is given with the help of so-called UI annotations. Okay. So we are going to now focus on a set of UI annotation. This definitely you can consider it as a part of a Fiori element annotation designing. Okay. Many a time you would see that people tend to use a local annotation file onto Fiori as well. But the idea is with the, let's just say, introduction of RAP, SAP is promoting more and more with the backend CDS based designing, so that if I'm consuming a single service at 5 different places for 5 different purposes, I'm not supposed to enrich it with the annotation at each and every application layer. Okay. Rather than that, I can do it centrally on the service layer, and the same, let's just say, behavior can be utilized onto the application layer. That's the main idea. So for example, as we are thinking about the behavior, let's just look at
Sandeep?
this. So currently, sorry,
Sandeep, Kamlesh here.
sorry, this is Sumit. Yeah, Kamlesh.
Yeah, so basically for lightweight my experience, I'm just saying, so adding to your point, lightweight application, definitely we should think of Fiori. If it is a very cumbersome, more business validations required in the process, definitely RAP will be in a place to cater the requirement. Is it right?
So Fiori is a UI part of it. RAP is a backend part of it. UI, RAP and Fiori are not alternatives. Instead, they are they both will be used for a full application development. So RAP is
Behavior
going to be the
perspective.
backend. RAP is going to be your backend. From the UI perspective, if you would like to go with Fiori for a smaller application, you can go with. If you want to go with a Ledger, and rather than going with Fiori application, even if you go with a custom UI application, developer can also choose that. Even if they would like to use some other UI technology, that's also open. Anyone can use that. That's totally okay. But when I say RAP, that's only for the backend perspective. Why it has a UI flavor right now? So that if it's being used within the SAP framework where smart controls are being used, those smart controls can be rendered automatically. That's the main idea why SAP is also providing those annotation libraries. Okay. But the selection of a UI technology is independent of your backend technology. RAP and Fiori are two options for two different aspects. They are not alternatives.
Correct. If in the process, in the front, in the user level, I want to keep some validation. In Fiori also, we can keep that validations actually in the lightweight process. In backend also, we can enable the validations, right, Sandeep?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So that is quite important in the in designing the process actually. Okay, got
Correct.
it,
Yeah.
Sandeep. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That will come. We'll discuss later.
But Sumit, there the Fury developer will involve in that case. Okay, so here it's not required. The backend developer can do everything in by using a CDS or RAP.
Yeah,
Suppose that
right. Correct.
that is
Yeah,
advantage.
definitely. So that's the reason. Maybe the moment we came on to the point of a behavior definition, the capability it carries, we'll be definitely discussing that which portion it really makes sense to be developed onto backend, and which portion it really makes sense to be developed onto UI, and what are the advantages and disadvantages. So we'll be discussing that for sure.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, now, so for example, I loaded all the columns over here, and now I would like that thing to happen automatically over here. So what I'll do is I would like to go with a set of annotation. So as I mentioned, annotation are ideally of two layers. One, I can say I can have an annotation which are onto the header CDS view, or I can say header level, or I can say view level annotation. Another one I can have is a property level annotations. Okay. So if I would like to have a property level annotation because I would like to display individual columns, then it makes sense for me to have a property level annotation. I'll just simply say @UI dot, and here I'll go with, if I would like to show a column, ideally we can go with an annotation called line item, and here we'll go with a line item, and here we'll specify that, okay, at position number 10, I would like to display some sort of a column. Okay. So what it would do is it would ultimately bring a column onto my output by default at the position specified. Now, what is this position 10? Let's just also understand that. So for example, here I am saying position 10. At the same point in time, I would also be interested in showing my agency ID as a column, and which is having, let's just say, position 20, what it is. Okay. So when I say I am planning to display, okay. So when I say I am planning to display a application in a form that I can have a column 1, column 2, and likewise. So in this particular case, I can plan to have a annotation using which it can be displayed called UI line item. Okay, so I can say line item annotation. Okay, I can specify this line item annotation at all the places. Now, when I say I am specifying a position, I am specifying relative position. When I say 10, it means anything which is less than 10 will be displayed onto the left of this. Anything which is greater than 10 will be displayed onto the right of this. While displaying the column, the position will be defined, position will be decided by sorting those numbers in a numeric way. So for example, I can say if I do have a, let's just say 10, 20, and 30, definitely it makes sense for my column 1 to be visible at first place because 10 is less than 20. Same way 20 will be in middle and 30 will be on the right of 20, because this is how I can sort the numbers, and that's how the column will be displayed. Tomorrow, let's just say I have a requirement of adding one more column in between column 1 and 2. Okay, then I am not supposed to, let's just say, adjust all the numbering that I have done over here. Rather, what I can say is I can simply add column 1.1 over here, and I can simply say if I'm specifying, for example, it as a 15, which is ideally greater than 10 but less than 20, it will start showing it as a, let's just say, column which will be onto the second level, or I can say second onto the list. That's the reason by nature SAP suggests please try to give the position which is in the interval of 10, which gives you a liberty, which gives you an option so that in future as well you can accommodate at least 10 columns in between. So you are supposed to adjust it in between. It cannot be partial. I cannot go with 1.1, 1.2 definitely, but I can still have a space of 9 columns accommodation between each two columns. Okay, and this position concept is applicable for anything, for anything which is rendered based on a UI annotation wherever position is defined. For example, I say column. For example, I'll be defining a form. Maybe going forward, there also position has the same significance. Okay. So for example, I'm saying 10 over here, 20 over here, and let's just make this let's just say keep it as a 10. But for example, here I would like to say, as I'm designing it for the very first time, I would like to make it as a 30, but rather I would like to make my customer over here as a 20. Okay, so if I do that, what I would get over here is that my customer will be shown on the into the second position because the number over here is 20, which is alphabetically. Or I can say if I short that, this will stand second onto the list. So if I just go over here, I'll just refresh this. As you can see, it says travel ID, customer ID, and the agency ID. This is the sequence into which my columns are being formed. Now let's just try to enrich all the column whichever we would like to show. Meanwhile, as we see that, okay, if I keep on adding all those annotations over here, which are relevant to UI designing, whereas this view ideally contains set of column, and maybe tomorrow it can be also loaded with multiple associations and multiple things. So it might become quite difficult for me to manage when it comes to a UI and the backend designing. So what we'll do is we'll try to create a separate file which will be managing my UI aspect of it. So I'll go with a metadata extension. What you can do is you have two options. Either you can go over here and just simply say, let's just say right click over here and simply say create new CDS metadata extension, you can definitely go ahead and choose that. Or even there is one more option to it. You can simply expand your package. For example, over here, go in this particular CDS data definition and here onto the C view. Wherever you have some sort of a UI annotation defined, you can simply right click on this and you can simply say new metadata extension. You can create a metadata extension file and just cut and paste these things over there. Another option is click on source code and there is an option of extract metadata extension. What it would do is whatever annotations are there, which are more UI specific, more with the, which is having some sort of a metadata information will be pulled out and will be placed onto that particular separate file. Okay, so for example, here we have to give a name saying ZONC travel, because by nature, I can say by best practice, what best practice is saying is that the name of the view that you are creating and the name of metadata extension, it's good if the names are same. So it's easy for us to figure out, okay, which metadata extension is linked to what view. If you want, you can still go ahead with a different file name, different metadata extension. That's also okay. I'll just say MDE for travel.
So will the metadata extension is creating for the consumption view or it could be for any views?
So anytime when you are defining a UI design, you will always designing onto the layer, which is last but the one onto the service, which makes it a consumption view always. Because if I say I'm going to preview something, I would be exposing it as a part of the scope. And as a part of the scope, you will always expose your consumption view, isn't it? And that's the reason your annotation should always be onto the consumption view, not any other place.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if I just extend this, I can say I open this. Here I can say the elements. Whichever elements are having some UI annotation, you will see those over here. You can even choose which annotation you would like to extract. I'll just say, and I'll just click on finish. What it would do is it will create a separate file for me. Then as we can see, just separate a file got created with one input that it is prompting you to do, which is nothing but the layer of the metadata. Now what it is. So as you can see, there are different layers to it: core, customer, industry, localization, and the partners. Now, when it comes to different layering, it comes up with a priority. What is a core? So for example, there is a standard SAP application which is being developed and which has come up with a metadata extension file with that. If you view such a file, you would see the metadata extension as a core, because as standard SAP is developing the application, they'll define it as a core. Now they have delivered the application, and let's just say you are working in some sort of IT industry. Okay, in some sort of a service-based company which is providing a IT service. You are behaving as a partner for SAP. So if you are creating a metadata extension file onto the same CDS view with a partner metadata layer, then the idea will be that your file will take the precedence, your file will take the priority on top of the core which has been defined. If I say your partner file has also been defined, but there is another IT team which is sitting at the customer location, which is nothing but, let's just say, your client location. So I have, let's just say, SAP who delivered a standard application as a part of a IT service industry's employee. You behave as a partner and you are defining a partner file. The actual manufacturing industry, actual organization has its internal IT team. They want to tweak the UI behavior a bit. So they created a customer file. So if I have core file, partner file, customer file, the priority will be, the core will be having a list priority. If no other file exists, core will be used for a UI behavior, UI metadata extensions. Partner, if that's there, core will be overridden. That won't be considered. Rather, your partner will be loaded. If the customer is there, this customer file will be loaded. Likewise, this industry and localization are mainly for an industry specific. They stand same level as that of the core. But the idea is that mainly you will see these three files being used with a set of a priority. So as we are from IT industry, I'll just choose a partner. Okay, you can choose it based on your organization. But that's the main purpose of it. It won't make any difference onto how the things will appear onto the UI when you have just a single file. Now, when I say I'm developing this application, I am creating metadata extension, it gives me an error saying I have to add this onto the view level. So I'll copy this and I'll add this over here. As you can see, the annotation that I created are now removed from here. So I can just clean up this space and I'll just simply add an annotation which has been prompted, which says that please allow creating a metadata extension. That's what it says, metadata allow extension. I'll activate this. I'll go on to my metadata extension file over here, and I'll just simply do a syntax check. Okay, and now I'll activate this. So it should not make any difference when it comes to a, let's just say, UI behavior that was generated so far, even though we shifted the place. Okay, now if I just go back, here we have just exposed 3 columns. Let's just say we would like to expose multiple columns. So for example, what I'll do is I'll just try to copy the columns that I had, or if you would like, you can also go with a control space. That's also quite fine. I'll copy this and I'll just say I would like to also define some sort of an annotation on top of this so I can also view this. Okay, as you can see here, the semicolon is being used for the column. So I have to replace all my comma with semicolon. Plus, whenever you are having any property over here, I cannot have any property over here which is not having any annotation written on top of it. So I have commented all this out, but as you can see, I have begin date. I have not specified any annotation. It says it should at least have one annotation. Otherwise, your property will be exposed. But if you don't want a UI behavior, why to keep it in the metadata extension? That's the main idea. I'll just uncomment this and let me just try adding some UI annotation. I'll just create it as a column. I'll just copy this and we'll try adding them onto the list with defined position. So for example, I would like to view this. Okay. I'll just give this. So for example, we don't want this to, I'll just simply say this one. I'll comment this out. I'll just format the code and I'll just try to give it position. So for example, 30, here I'll just say 40, 15. Likewise, I give the numbering. Okay, so I have these columns available and now I should be able to view this. So maybe I can say a first step towards enriching my consumption view with set of a behavior. So I'll just go over here and maybe in my application, I'll just refresh this. So I can see the columns being loaded. Okay. Now, if I just try to click on go, I would be able to see a columns being loaded. Plus the columns, those can be accommodated over here because of responsive behavior will be shown by default onto the list. The one which cannot be, I can simply go over here and just click on the show more per row. And the moment I click on this, I can see the other column also being visible over here. Okay. Now, once I have the column loaded, next thing that you will be doing over here is that in this particular case, I would also be interested in knowing how many record it actually loaded. I don't see any of this information over here. Okay. In order for us to view all those counts and all, what we'll do is we'll add some header level annotation this time. So let's just say I would simply say @UI dot. This time we'll go with so-called header info. The moment I say header info, it allows me going with a header level information. Here, there are multiple aspects to it. What it says is whenever we are saying, okay, there are n number of travel information available. I can say, okay, there are 1,000 travels. I can say travels, which is a plural form of it. But if I try to open an object page over here, I would be interested in viewing only one travel information, right? A dedicated information which is linked to just single travel. So I can have type name information which has two flavor to it. I'll just say type name plural, which says if there are multiple travel, I should be calling it as a travels. If there are, let's just say just single information, I can call it as a travel. Plus onto the header page, there are certain things that we can define. So what should be shown onto the header layer per object? So I can say I can have a title, which I would like to show as a nothing but my normal travel ID. So for example, here I'll have a value and here I'll just simply say travel ID as my value. Okay, and I'll show it as a normally the normal standard behavior. Same way I can have a description to it. value over here, and here I'll just simply say I would like to show some sort of a description which would have been given to my travel, so I'll just simply say this one. And one more thing to note that, okay, we are discussing CDS annotation, how a Fiori application can be designed. So it's easy for us to going forward visualize my application's call when it comes to RAP. It is not tightly bound with a RAP. We are understanding that so that it becomes easy for us to understand RAP going forward. From a UI designing perspective, uh, there are different kind of Fiori element templates, and maybe you can explore those as well. Okay, so that's totally a different topic in itself. Fiori elements, that's something you can explore. So I can say this is type name and this header info I define. If I just try to go with a preview of it, I'll just simply go over here. Here I should be able to see that, okay, travels is visible. The moment I click on go, I should be able to view that, okay, there are total 4,142 records. By default, it would have loaded few of them. The moment you scroll, it will load the record by the pagination. It will just give you the total records by default. Now, this gives me a whole list. I would like to now enrich it in a way so that I can have set of searching capabilities given on top, either in the form of some global search or in the form of some sort of a filters as well onto a dedicated, let's just say columns. Let's just say I would like to give some global search capability, saying if I say a vacation over here, I should be able to view the, let's just say travel, which are mainly for a vacation planning. If I say I would like to view a travel who has been created for customer ID 225, the moment I say 225, by default in the same box, my customer column should have been searched rather. So what we would like to have is we would like to have some global search capability like we have in e-commerce site. When I say would like to view an iPhone, I can say iPhone and it will search for an iPhone in that case. But when I say I would like to, let's just say, view a product from a company, for example, Apple. So if I say Apple products, then also it will start showing me all those lists which is relevant. Rather than asking you, okay, in which particular column you would like to search, because internally seeing, they are also nothing but a set of a database. Those information would have been stored somewhere onto the database. Still, those things are being searched by default with some sort of a global search capability, depending on to the underlying technology. Okay. In SAP as well, we have this capability. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, on what columns we would like to have those capabilities. So for example, I'll say for the description, I would like the search capability to be enabled. So in that particular case, you can go with a search dot default search element. It will say, okay, you can search onto this. Plus, I'll say over here, if I say just think from an ABAPers perspective, think from a SQL perspective. If I say I'm writing a select query saying select all the travel from a table where my description is equal to vacation, it will show me a column where the description is vacation. And if I say I have not specified V in uppercase, definitely it won't return me any data. It will be quite case sensitive in that case. So if I say all the select queries are being executed, and I have few for vacation for, let's just say, some place, and likewise, I can have some different description written, which may have that keyword. My select query won't return it if I am saying, please match it 100% with the content. If you would like to get some liberty, then we have an option called fuzziness. So I'll just say search dot fuzziness threshold over here. Here you can specify that if you would like to make the content to match 100%, you can simply say 1.0, which means you would like the content to match 100%. But if you say no, even if it matches 10%, please show it. Then its system will try to derive the content, check, okay, to what extent it is matching. If it's matching to the threshold that you specified, if it does, then it will allow you, or the system will put those records onto your output list. By default, or I can say as a best practice, you should ideally go by 70 to 80% of the match. Okay, so that even the user's typos are also considered, plus the database is also not having an overhead while it is trying to search for those informations. Okay, so that's what we call it as a fuzziness threshold. So for example, I have specified it for one column. Let's just say when I say I would like to search for customer ID, most of the time it makes sense if I do have, let's just say, a customer ID which has been passed, it should search with the exact term. Okay, because I can have a 225 if a user is searching for, I can have a 226 as well. So if I don't want to go with a margin, I want the accurate input, I can also go with this. Likewise, you can specify it on any column you want. For example, now if I just try to do a syntax check, it seems it's not having any issue. Let me just try activating this. Strangely, it did not give me an error. Ideally, it should. Okay, let's just see. Nice. Let's see if it works. There is one more annotation which is missing. I mean, just to tell you, but let's see. I mean, if it is. Okay, so here we don't see any search box. In order for us to have a search box onto the header layer, we have to specify search.searchable equal to true. The moment you do that, then only your view will become a searchable. Then only it will have a search. On the Fiori smart template side, I can say it will have a box as well as your OData, which will be your endpoint, will also start supporting your search capability. So if I try refreshing this, as you can see, now I see a search box. I'll just execute this. And for example, I'm looking for some sort of a business trip now. I can see all the record which are having a business trip also being shown. But if I say I would like to view a record with a customer ID 579, oh, 579 rather. Okay, do I have it? Okay, here I can view anyway. Oh, once a query did I specify? Okay, I specified it on this one only. Remove this. I think there used to be a 579. Somehow the global search did not detected it. Here it is. Let's just say something ending with 579. Yeah, here we see. Okay, so we have it. It seems that because of some, let's just say initial character it would be having, that's the reason it's not being shown. Okay, but the idea is globally it will allow you to search that, and that ideally happens out of the box. The moment you view the network call, what you will be able to view over here is that your backend service is being served onto a particular call. For example, I'll just say vacation over here. I'll just press enter. You would see that, okay, it's being served with the help of so-called search annotation. I can just search parameter over here. It says that, okay, your travel over here should have a at the rate, should have a parameter called search equal to something. The moment you do it, the moment your OData does it, your output will be served. Okay, so anywhere where you are consuming, this is what we should be expecting. And you can specify search element for multiple different column wherever you would like to. If you would like to give it for all the column, you can do that as well. Okay. Now, when we are going with this, if I just go over here, cancel this, expand this, and let's just, I would like to say I'm opening this here. I can see the title and the description I provided. I can see those over here. If I just go back, I can see the search dialog. Now I would like to have some sort of filters over here so that my user can easily search on top of it. Okay, let's just do that. In order for us to have some sort of a searching based on the filters, we should have so-called annotation called selection field. For example, I would be interested in filtering it out based on so-called, let's just say begin date. Okay, so for example, I'll just simply specify @UI.selection field. And here I'll specify position and 10, for example. Same way, I would like to have another filter as well. So for example, we are giving on one filter on this and one filter, for example, on the status layer. And I'll just call it as a, let's just say 20. I'll just activate this. Let's just refresh. Here I see that, okay, I have a set of filters. I'll execute this. And here I can say whichever date I would like to search with. It says starting date, which is nothing but this one, 22nd of July. And here maybe we can have different records. Here, for example, 17th May. Let's just start search for a record which is having a 17th May. I'll just simply say 17th May 2023. Or was it 2023 in reality? Oh, that was 2024. Okay. Yeah, I see a 17th May 2024 records being shown up over here because of the filtering capability. Same goes over here. If I would like to search for a record which are having a status called O, I can search for that and it will show me all the record with the overall status O. But the bit difficult thing over here is my user has to go over here, click on this, then click on this, and then keep on adding those things. Okay, so it would become quite difficult. Yeah, there are options I can go with a between and all those things, but point is that, okay, for a date, it makes sense if I have those things already available onto the default layer. So we also do have some sort of consumption capabilities there as well. I can say if I would like to go with let's just a single selection, I can just simply say consumption over here. And here I can say I would like to have the selection type change rather than all those things. I would like to specify, I would like my user to specify the things in the form of an interval. So I can say interval over here. The moment you do that, you would see that, okay, yeah, now your information will be visible in the form of an interval rather. So for example, I'll just refresh this. And here we see now it being formed in the form of an interval. You can simply say you would like to view the record which are having, let's just say, the date on to the 2024 July from starting from, let's just say, either if you would like to give one date or let's just say okay, let me just go over here and I'll just simply say May, let's just say 14 to 24th of May. Then it will show me all the record which are falling in that particular criteria. So I can have those things also manipulated via the backend annotation and it will change the UI control. Plus over here in the overall status, we don't see anything coming up by default. Okay. So what we can also do is if you want, you can also choose to have some sort of a let's just say capability which allows the system to give a sort of a value help. Okay, that's also a kind of one of the possibility that you can also choose. And you can also assign some sort of a value help to this as well. That's also certain possibility. For that, I'll give you a hint. Maybe you can, if you want, you can try out and you maybe will also help you out in that case. You can go with consumption, value help definition over here. And here you can specify, let's just say which particular value help you would like to specify in the form of all the relevant entities. Okay, the moment you do that, you would be able to specify your name, which entity you would like to use as a value help and which element. The moment we do that, we should be in a right shape to show it in the form of a value help. That's something which can also be done. I'll just comment it for a while and maybe we'll come back to it later, but this is how we can also show the value help. Okay. All you are supposed to do is bind a relevant CDS entity over here and you should be able to view that value help as well. That's also totally given. Now, let's just think about a composition that we define. All this while we are dealing with the data which are on and around travel, right? Currently, we see all those information over here, but I don't have any information on the detail of it. If I click on this particular travel, for example, okay, if I click on, let's just say very first travel over here, I cannot see anything other than my date over here. Nothing more than that is visible. Okay, I would like to have some view over here so that I can display my travels information. Let's just visualize how we would like to have it. I would like to have it in the form of some sort of a table over here. I can say I would like to have two different information. I can say general information, or let's just say basic data. And here I would like to have some sort of bookings to it. In the general information, I would like to, we would like to see this as a two different tabs. The moment I click on this, I should be able to view the information which are relevant to that particular basic data. For example, my travel ID, date, customer, agency, and all. But when I say bookings, I would be interested in showing all the bookings. So as a part of this bookings, I would be interested in showing some sort of a table. So for example, I would like to have my column 1, column 2, and column 3, and everything to be visible. Okay. If you would like to do that, yeah, please.
Can just a question? Can we have some sort of alert on the page? Is it possible using RAP?
What kind of alert?
Which is not attention more than 90 days.
So by default, out of the box using annotation, it's not given, but via the custom UI, you can achieve that.
Again, it's in the Fiori, right?
In the Fiori, yeah, correct.
Okay, not in the RAP, correct?
No, onto the RAP layer, that's not provided out of the box. So there are no capabilities which gives you an alert out of the box via RAP. That's not possible.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you would like to show it in this particular form, what we are going to design over here is the first tab over here you see, or the second tab over here you see, we ideally call them as a facets. Facets as in a group of a field that you would like to define in different ways. Now, when we are saying facets, facet can be of different type. Facet can be of type called field group reference, which ideally would help you group multiple field logically with some sort of a qualifier and group them and bind it to a set of a visibility area. There can also be so-called line item annotation, or I can say line item reference. So for example, like we define a column over here, set of columns, same way you can define a column onto booking. The moment you add a line item reference, it will refer to that particular table in that required association or navigation and will help you visualize it in the form of a table. Okay, let's just go with this first. As we are saying, we are supposed to specify, or I can say visualize or define so-called facet. We would be defining a set of annotation onto the view layer, over here, and we'll use it as a facet. So for example, here I was enriching my enriching properties. And here I can say facet definition. Okay. Now, in order for me to do that, I'll just simply say @UI.facet. And here within this particular block, as you can see, there is a square bracket. It means it's an array. Within that array, there are, let's just say a curly bracket. It means I can have n number of facets defined as a part of it. I'll just go over here and I'll just keep on defining them. So for example, I would like to combine a set of information in a different way logically. So for example, says that here we are defining a set of information where we were over here. Rather than specifying all the things together, let's just say I would like to display travel ID, maybe then agency ID, customer ID, maybe then a start date, or you can say date, which is nothing but my start and end date. Plus over here on the right hand side of this, I would like to also show some sort of administrative information saying, okay, who is the person who created it? I can say created by, at, changed by, and change on. Okay, so we can specify that as well in the form of some sort of a facet. Okay. Now, once we have that, we would be able to, we should be in a position to show this in a two separate groups. And we should be able to also combine this group in the form of a collection so they both can be visible as a part of a single basic data. It means I can have one more type of facet called collection facet. Okay, so let's just go over here and try to define the root of it first. I'll just simply say I would like to define some sort of a let's just say facet, and I would like to show it in the form of some sort of a general information. Let's just give it a unique ID. So for example, I'll just simply say ID. As I say, it's going to be my general information facet. I'll just say ID, general information, and facet. Okay. Plus, we would like to show it in the form of a what? It's going to be a collection, as I mentioned. We will specify it as a collection. And we would like it to be visible very first one onto the list. So I'll just say position 10. What it would do is it will define a set of a facet, which will help you collect multiple different facets. Different facet we are talking about, let's just say this one. I'll define one facet over here, another facet over here. Okay, now what we are going to do? If we are saying that, okay, there is one more facet which is going to be a child of this. So it means this should have a parent reference. I'll just say parent ID, and here I'll just simply say this ID GI facet, this is a parent of this. Same goes over here, this is going to be the parent of this. Okay, now what we would do is we'll say, okay, here this is going to be my basic data. I'll just say label. Okay, in this particular case, I am going to show some sort of admin data. Okay, I would like this particular component to be visible under that particular parent first. So I'll just say position 10. So this is a parent one. It has its own set of sequencing. It has a sequencing. This facet has a sequencing as a part of this particular parent one. So that's the reason we'll define it as a position over here. And let's just call it as a 20. Okay, now as I mentioned, we are going to have a set of a facet which can be of different type. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to define a facets a different ID first. So I'll just simply say ID, and I'll because this was a parent ID. This facet also needs some sort of identifier. So I'll just simply say I would like to have some ID, which is nothing but a basic data facet. And I am going to have an ID for this, which is nothing but a ID for my admin facet, admin data facet. Okay, now once after having this, we would be interested in showing two more important things to it. First, saying, okay, how we would like it to be rendered. So when I say this particular field group reference, which is nothing but combining all the individual field if they have been annotated with so-called annotation UI dot field group, then I'll call it as a field group reference. There is like we have a field grouping which can be achieved via field group. Same way, there is one more annotation which is also been given to group the set of a field, which is in the form of a identification, which ideally is given in the form of a UI dot identification. If you ask me what are the differences between field group and identification, I'll say visually you won't see much difference, but technically field group itself contains set of properties which are more than, which gives you more capability than that of the identification. But as there are two options, I just thought of sharing both of them with you. Okay, so let's just create two facets, one with a type of identification, another one with type of the field group. So for example, here I'll just simply say I would like to define this as an identification reference, whereas I would like this to be defined as a type of my field group reference. Okay, now we would also like to combine a set of data so that those are visible, because currently they are just a facet, they are just placeholders, right? Which all fields are going to be visible where? So here I'll just simply say that, okay, we should have some sort of a target qualifier. It says, okay, what all fields are going to be bound over here. So I'll just say target qualifier for my basic data. So this is going to behave as a qualifier. So each and every field that you bind with this particular qualifier will become visible under basic data. Same over here, I'll just simply say target qualifier. So I just place the dot, rather I should be placing a comma. Okay, and here I'll just say target qualifier for my admin data. Okay, now here we are seeing identification reference for the basic data. So what all things we would like to be visible in the basic data? So for example, I'll just simply say, say UI dot identification, and here we would say I would like it to be visible on position number 10, which should be the first one, plus the qualifier to which it should be linked will be nothing but this one. So here on this one, onto the annotation level, you will specify it in the form of a qualifier, whereas while you are defining onto the facet layer, you will go with the target qualifier. Okay, so it will target all the fields which are having a qualifier this specified. That's how we ideally mean. Now let's just keep on adding all the field which we would like to be visible over here. I'll just simply say this one, plus let's just say begin date, end date. Let's just say booking fee, total price, some sort of a currency, description, and maybe overall status as well. Okay, we would like all this field to be visible as a part of my, let's just say, basic data facet. Plus, let's just also change the position to it. I just specified 10 by default for all of them right now. I'll just say 20, 30, 40. Okay, now, plus we would like to have some admin fields as well, and we are going to show it in the form of a field group. So what we'll do is for all these 4 fields, for example, I'll just simply say UI dot field group position. Here I'll just set 10, and here I'll just specify the qualifier, which is nothing but my admin data. Oh, what did I do? Okay, let me just copy this and I'll just specify it over here. Plus, I would also like to have these 2 fields also visible. And I'll just change the position to it. Okay, now let's just try to visualize how it's visible. I'll just activate this. Let's just try to open the application, refresh it. Let's just click on go. And here we see, now I have a general information facet created, which has 2 segments to it, a basic data and the admin data. In the basic data, it's showing the column, the one which we just defined, plus in the admin data, it is showing the information that we have just specified over here. So we are able to see this information rightly specified over here. Now we would be interested in viewing some sort of a booking information as well, because we have a composition, we never used it, but we have defined it in the form of a relation. So we have used collection, we have used these 2 facets as well. We are interested in now specifying a line item reference facet, using which this another facet can also be visualized in the form of a column, form of a table. So let's just make it ready first individually. When I say individually, if you just go in service binding, click on this booking, click on preview, you would see that it does not have anything. I don't see columns being visible for my booking entity right now. If I would like to do that, what I'll do is I'll just simply try to add let's just say metadata extension for it. I'll just right click on this and I'll just simply say create a metadata extension. Okay, and I'll just copy this and I'll just give it a same name. I'll just say MDE for my booking. Next. And I'll just simply say annotate this particular view. I think the term has changed now, if I remember. They are still calling it as a view. It's changed. Okay. Now I'll just simply again go with partner, and now I have to specify metadata allow extension on this one as well. On my booking one, I'll just copy this and I'll just go on to my booking, and here I'll specify metadata dot allow extension. True. And I'll just specify the column that I would like to be visible. Let me just pull all the columns. But booking a travel ID ideally does not make sense to be visible in the form of a column because I'm anyway in the context of a travel. So I'll just copy the booking ID. And now let's just specify this plus let's just change the comma with a semicolon, replace. Now let's just simply say UI.line item position 10. Okay, now I'll just try to make the things a bit readable. And I'll just add this in the form of a okay. Now I will activate this and let's see okay how the columns are being rendered. Refresh this. Now I can see that okay booking information is being rendered rightly with the columns that we have asked for. Okay, but now over here if I see I still don't see those particular information because I have not combined the visualization of my travel and booking together. Okay, so what I'll do is in this particular case I'll go back to my metadata extension of my travel. Okay, plus here after doing this what we are supposed to also specify is another facet which should be on the same level as that of this one. Now, when I say on the same level, does not mean that it should be indentation wise on the same layer. Yeah, it makes sense visually if they are onto the same layer, but that's not mandatory. I ideally prefer that, but it's totally up to you how you would like to proceed with that. I would say rather the level of it. Okay, the I can say it should have the parent hierarchy on the same layer. It does not have any parent. It means it's on the level 0. Same way, this should also be on the level 0 plus position of it should be 20, and I should be calling it as a booking over here. Okay, plus I can say the ID of it should be my booking facet, booking data. Let me just call it as. And here the type of it that we are going to specify in this particular case won't be collection, rather it would be line item reference. It's on the position number 20 plus we are let's just say going to bind what. So like we used to have a target qualifier, same way we have a target element as well, which says, okay, I would like to bind bookings with this. The moment you do that, system will try to bind this. There are certain aspects definitely to it. Okay, which may come into picture if you would have made some mistake. So for example, when I say I'm having a travel over here, I have booking over here. You are saying redirected to composition child. If you just go over here, here you should have specified 0 to star or 1 to star, kind of something which is by default n. If you would have specified composition off by missing the out the cardinality like we have over here, the what you might also have faced is okay. Let's just try that out first so that it's more clear as well. I'll just say what kind of mistake you ideally make. Okay, because when you know the mistake, you could also figure out how to avoid those. Okay, I'll just comment this out. Here, I'll just simply say composition of this. Correct. I specified that. I didn't specify the cardinality. And still my BO will work the way expected. But by nature, the cardinality over here is 1. Okay, if I do that, I'll just simply go over here and I'll try to refresh the page. Let's just search for it. Open the first one. I see a bookings, but do you see a booking table being rendered? No, right? Because you never said it should be a table, right? You are saying it should be composition. How many composition item it should have? You never specified. And by default, if you don't specify, it will always expect that, okay, travel will be having something which will have exactly 1-to-1 relation. That's by nature. And 1-to-1 relation ideally does not need a table, right? It says cardinality 1 of the specified does not match with the on condition. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just simply uncomment the thing that we just commented out to view the difference. And these are advantage I can say, or I can say these are importance of composition's cardinality. If you don't specify your cardinality right, your output behavior definitely won't be correct. So I'll just simply go over here and I'll just refresh this. Now I see a table being rendered with the right booking, which are relevant to this particular travel. If I open any other travel, definitely the bookings might also be different. So for example, I'll open 12 and here I see different travels also over here. Same way, if you are also interested in viewing how many travel it does have, same way you can just have, let's just say UI header info like we had over here and also add it there as well. That's also fine. So we'll need that definitely because when I say I am going to, let's just say, define a particular booking, I would also be using, let's just say, a transactional capability. So I would need a way using which I can enter the data, right? So for example, if I say I would be manipulating the data onto the table, rather than that, if I do have some navigation over here which says, okay, on the object page, I should be able to enter the data for that, it would be quite easy for me to maintain. So that's the reason we would also need an object page onto the third layer as well. And that's quite simple. Okay. So like we had it over here, I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it over here. Okay, let me just call it as a bookings. And let's just say we don't want this. If you want, you can add that. That's also totally fine. I'll just make it like this. Okay. Plus, we would like to have some sort of a general information over here. So let's just call it, let's just say, again, these are my property one. And I would like to have some sort of a facets also over here. Okay, I'll just simply say UI.facets. And this particular facet I am specifying over here. Let me just call it as a, do we have multiple information? Ideally, no, right? So let me just call it as a ID, ID for my general data. Or I can say general information booking facet. Let's just call it as a label for my general information. I'll just specify it as a position number 10. Okay, specify the type of it, and I'll just simply specify the type as my field group reference. And let's just say target qualifier to it. And I'll just simply say target qualifier for my general information booking data. Okay, and I'll just simply UI.field group position 10, and let's just specify the target qualifier over here. And let's just change this thing. So simply say 20. Okay, let's save this and activate this, and let's just view the outcome. Refresh this. Okay, it says, okay, there are 9 bookings over here. Maybe we have double S, that will correct. I'll just click on this, and you see the information being loaded in the form of the in a form. So tomorrow, when we are going to pass the data into it, we should have a placeholder where we can at least enter the information. Okay, that's the main idea. Okay, so I just corrected this. I'll refresh, and I think the thing should be fine now. Okay, so we have the information in the right form. Okay, so this is what we can call it as a read-only application that we achieved via a wrap. By default, your sorting, filtering, global search, all those things will be governed with the help of a CDS capability. Then that's the reason they will be working out of the box. Rather, if you would have chosen a gateway services, you would have you might end up writing a set of code for that. Whereas in the form of a CDS capability plus with the combination of wrap service definition and binding, those things are given out of the box rather than you specifying anything explicitly. Okay. So anyone having any doubt, any questions on that?